Blog Talk Radio.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Light Sports Ramble. This is Troy Otradovic, as always, joined with Evan Witallison. Evan, it is a Monday, and there's no Packers to talk about today. A little bit bummed out about that, but at least I think we're
very sad.
Yeah, at least I think we're back to normal though with the crazy lady in the studio. We got everything going. Intro song. We're on air. Everything's good. Hopefully, we have a really smooth show today. But it was divisional weekend, and so now we're down to 4 teams, Evan. You and I, in our predictions, went 3-1. We were right on in the NFC. We predicted San Francisco, Seattle in the championship game. We'll definitely recap those games. The AFC is where we had our differences. The games we disagreed on, those were the ones where we split, and we went 1-1 in the AFC. So we were both 3-1. But nonetheless, I thought we had 4 exciting games. As we break them down today, we'll talk about some things that we thought went well and some of the things, too, as we look ahead that might be keys for their success in the future. So I'll let you take it away, bud. We're going to start off with the Saints Seahawks. What was your recap of that game?
Well, look at the Saints Seahawks. The Seahawks defense set the tone early. You're going to mention a key play on that first drive. But overall, the Seahawks set the tone early. Their defensive line was attacking the line of scrimmage. The Saints were trying to establish their ground game, but the Seahawks weren't having it. Breeze did not look comfortable at all early on in that game. He looked rushed. He looked like he didn't know what was going on. At the end of the day, it's 24-43 for 309 yards passing, which the 309 sounds good, but the 24-43 is not. And the third down efficiency for the Saints, 3 of 12, just 25% on third downs. And kicking-wise, the kicker, Shane Graham, who they signed really late in the season, went 0 for 2 on field goals. And being a 7-point game, if he nails those field goals, it's a much closer game than that. It's a 1-point game. And then you have both Colston just having a complete brain fart on that last play of the game, where if he turns to his left, he goes out of bounds, but instead he turns to his right and throws the ball forward, which just completely baffled me. It's, what are you doing? And then the Seahawks were able to just take control of the game, like with their defense, and then Marshawn Lynch, beast mode came back against the Saints, and Lynch just took control. Wilson didn't have the most efficient day, just going 9 of 18 for 103 yards passing, but Lynch just was a beast to tackle, and he just took control of the game and kept the chains moving. And the safety play, and I should say the middle of the Seahawks defense in general, but the safety play, Earl Thomas and Chancellor, and then throw the middle linebacker Wagner in there, I'm jealous seeing just how efficient that middle of the Seahawks defense is. It shows you what corners can do with safety play like the Seahawks and with middle linebacking play like the Seahawks. So that's kind of my take on it.
Well, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit about the safety play. When we looked at, and jumping ahead to the AFC games too, you look at the safety play of all the teams that were playing, all the teams that won, I saw a lot of hard hitting, Evan. I actually saw hitting where they were knocking their own players out. I mean, not that that's what I want to have happen. Okay, I don't want us to hit our own players. But what it tells me is they're ball hawks. They're going to go make a hit. They're going to go make a play. We don't have that. We're not even in the area. We're late to react. So, yes, I'm jealous too. All the teams that won, safeties are there making big hits. And that's what I'm jealous of. We need to do it. We need to get that fixed. And so I know, again, we got to somehow throw Packers in here because, that's what we do. But getting back to the Seahawks game, I agree with you. The safety play, the defensive play of the Seahawks was awesome, as usual. They did what we thought they were going to do. We had mentioned in our preview that they could smother the receivers, not give them a break off the ball. And when I looked at this game, the one key that I thought was going to have happen if the Saints were going to have a chance was to get Jimmy Graham involved, so much that I even picked him in the Red Light Sports Ramble group on NFL.com Fantasy Playoffs. And I have to tell the listeners, Evan, you tweeted it today, you forgot to set your lineup.
Yeah, that's, I put down I forgot to set, but it's not so much that I forgot as I was trying to do it Saturday morning, and just my internet was, pardon me, listeners with that season, my internet was running super slow at the house, so it was too hard, and for some reason NFL.com doesn't work really well at my house.
Maybe the crazy lady invaded your computer from the studio. Because I'll tell you, Friday she was just...
I hope not.
I'll tell you, Friday she was on a tear. At least Saturday she cooperated with us. And she's cooperating today. So that's a good thing. But all jokes aside on the Jimmy Graham. One catch late in the game. That meant nothing. And they just suffocated those receivers. I mean, yeah, Breeze got his yards. There were some plays there at the end. But I'll tell you what, that game, and it came down to, the Saints had a chance. But I'm going to go back. Everybody's talking about the end stuff, and you did, and I'm going to comment on what you said about Colston going out of bounds, which he should have. But I'm going to go way back to the first drive. And the Saints have the ball, and I believe it was a 3rd and 6. And they tried a little screen pass to Ingram. Had some blocking in front of him, but he drops the ball. Had he made that catch, whether or not they score on this drive, he gets the first down most likely. He had a convoy in front of him. He would probably pick the first down up. In my opinion, if they make that play, it gives them a little bit of confidence that, hey, we can move the chains with the short screen. We can get our composure. We can run our offense. But now it's 3 and out. And then what happened too? Almost muffed. Well, they did muff the punt. The ball went through the punter's hand, hit him right in the balls. So, what do you do there? So, a bad start to the Saints. Had they made that first down, though, I'm not saying that it would have changed the outcome, but I think it might have changed a little bit of the confidence level the Saints had, because after that they did nothing. And you got to give credit to the Seahawks defense.
You ate the punt too.
Yeah, I would too where it hit me. I don't think I'd be ready to punt a ball after that thing came whizzing back in there. That hurts a little bit. But the confidence level at that point, Drew Brees at that point is going, man, that's a play. And it looked like they were going to try to run some of that during the day. But, I'm not saying, again, that was the reason they won or lost. I'm just saying that could have built a little bit of momentum to maybe get 2-3 first downs on that first drive, switch the field position. And the Saints defense, I'm going to give them credit. I know that we were never really sold on them. They were inconsistent, but I'm going to give them credit. They kept that Saints team in that game when the offense couldn't do anything. So I give them a little bit of credit there. But I want to go back to the onside kick, Evan, and get your thoughts. You talked about Colston going out of bounds. He should have. If that play was set up to execute it that way, that's just stupid. He should have went out of bounds. He could have took one step out of bounds, run another play. But I'm going to go back to the onside kick, and I want your thoughts on this. When he recovered that, he went right down, okay? And I know why. He goes down, stop the clock, get the offense on the field. I was thinking, why didn't he try to break a tackle? He only had one guy. And as the break comes, I was kicked out of the studio once again. So what I was saying is...
To Blog Talk Radio, please enter your host pin. When finished, press...
Our menu has recently changed.
It
appears you're calling back into a live show. We are reconnecting you now.
Do that quick 5 or 8 yard out pass that he did. And correct me if I'm wrong. I was just saying that you were mentioning that part of the, if he wouldn't have gone down and tried to pick up some yards there, Breeze might not have had to do that quick out pass that he did to Colston. on that last play.
Exactly, and all of a sudden I was talking, and I looked up at the studio, and it said, "You have been disconnected." Crazy lady got mad at me for talking about her, Evan. She got mad. She just got pissed off at me.
Crazy lady.
We're not going to mention her name anymore. She kicked me out of the studio. So now we got some blank time on the YouTube video. It's crazy. But I was saying, when I looked at the replay, what would it have hurt if he had tried to maybe break a tackle? And who knows, maybe he even gets 10, 15 yards. I know there wasn't a lot of time left. You risk maybe fumbling it away. But you know what? Where you're going to down the ball, you know you'd probably got 2 plays left. And so why not try to make something happen at that point? That was just one thing that I thought of when that happened. So, but with that said, Bud, and the little bit of technical difficulties, Seahawks are moving on. Let's move on to the 49ers-Panthers game. You and I both picked the 49ers in this one. Held true to form. They went out. They defeated the Panthers. What are your thoughts on that game?
It was a very, very chippy game from the start. Both teams were hitting hard, hitting late, headbutting. The coach was getting into it. Bolden was a complete jerk in the game, as was Kaepernick. It was just a physical, aggressive game all the way around. And, looking at the game, 2 key things in that game that completely changed it were there was a 4th and goal situation that the Panthers went for it, and Cam Newton got stuffed at the goal line. They ended up, after forcing a 49er punt, scoring on that next possession. But I think that set the tone. And then later on, the Panthers ended up having to settle for a field goal when I believe it was 3rd and goal, and they tried running in with Tolbert, and Tolbert got stuffed at the line. And I think those plays right there completely set the tone for the game. And from there on out, it was just the 49ers defense controlling the game, the entire game. Newton did not look comfortable at all. He looked a little banged up. Was not running the ball extremely well. And then passing-wise, wasn't passing it extremely well either. Ended up with 2 interceptions on the day. But again, strong safety play of the 49ers helped the 49ers quite a bit. And they were able to wear out the Panther defense. And one player, I don't know what he was even thinking, but the middle linebacker for the Panthers, Kushley, I don't even know how to say that. When Bolden caught that touchdown right before halftime, he just stopped running with Bolden. It looked like he was trying to grab and hold him instead of running with him. And then Bolden broke away from him and ended up catching that pass. And the referees were quite bad in that particular play too. I'm trying to figure out what the refs were even doing, because right before that pass, the Niners had 12 guys in the huddle, and it should have been a penalty immediately on the 49ers, but they miss it and let the 49ers, let the guy run off the field without penalty and let the Niners run their play. It was just a baffling game with physical play and poor refereeing, and a lot of douchebagginess with Hardball, Bolden, and Kaepernick.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to your keys of the game, and not much more for me to put into this one, other than they had 7 goal-to-goes, and they got, 3 points out of it? I know Rivera is, the riverboat gambler. I didn't think it was the wrong call, but I think that set the tone for the defense. Like you said, even though they had to punt and they scored a touchdown, that defense, when you can stop them on goal-to-go on 4th down especially, with a yard to go, that has to be a great motivator for a defense. Then to get them inside the 5 again, stop them again, hold them to a field goal. Yeah, that defense was playing with very good confidence. Newton, had to end up running the ball, and I think that was their game plan. And he was their leading rusher. But some of those, I think, that front 4, and they were finding a way to pressure Cam Newton, get him uncomfortable. And when I watched the beginning of that game, I don't know if you saw the first series when Cam Newton went out, they showed a picture of his face, and it's almost like he closed his eyes in this almost deep sigh of desperation. He looked very nervous in that.
I noticed that.
Do you remember that? It was the first series he went out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you actually caught that on film. That, to me, showed me right there that this guy's feeling the pressure of this game. And they hung in there for a while. But it ended the way we thought it was. And, I know Packer fans, and you and I had mentioned in the pre-show, that they're hating on Kaepernick. I'm going to give the guy credit for, being able to make plays. Now, I don't agree with a lot of his stupidness, and he goes in the end zone and mocks Cam Newton and kisses his forearm. You and I talked about that. I mean, that childish stuff like that, not a fan of it. Not a fan of all the jawing that went on. A lot of the penalties that were called and the headbutting and the jawing. There's a time earlier when Kaepernick got into it with one of the linebackers. But it was like a backyard brawl. I understand that. But you know what? Let's play some football. So 49ers move on. Play the Seahawks. We'll definitely have that recap on Friday for everyone. Or we'll have the preview on Friday for everyone. So let's move over to the AFC. First game, Colts-Patriots. The game that you and I disagreed on. I said the Patriots were going to win. You said the Colts were going to win. How do you think that game went? Why do you think the Colts couldn't pull this game off, Evan?
Well, Andrew Luck was very inconsistent. He 20 of 41, 331 yards passing, but the interceptions that he had completely killed the Colts. He looked very uncomfortable, very inconsistent, and those interceptions hurt. And then cap that off with, lack of running game and not able to stop the run game of the Patriots. But the Patriots' run game had been inconsistent at best all year, and they let LeGarrette Blount do his best Marshawn Lynch impersonation and just run all over the defense of the Colts. So it just Luck didn't look good. The Colts couldn't stop the Patriots' running game, and Tom Brady didn't have to do much whatsoever. So I was quite surprised to see the performance the Colts put on.
Yeah, Tom Brady only threw for 198 yards. He only had to throw the ball 25 times. I mean, man, Blunt had just a crazy day. 4 touchdowns. They ran all over him. And I don't know if you remember me in the preview, but I said the reason I was picking the Patriots is that when the Colts are good, they're good. When they're bad, they're bad. And they've shown a lot of inconsistency throughout the year. And that's exactly what happened in that game. When they were good, they were good. They were moving the ball.
You had said, during the preview of the game Friday that, the Colts had to start fast, and they didn't.
Yeah, because, and I was thinking of that when I was watching the game about what I had said, because this isn't the Chiefs. And I had mentioned, I had said, if you give the Patriots an inch, they're going to take a yard. Well, Blunt took 166 yards, and he ran through them. And that was the reason that I saw the Colts. And, they're a good team. They got to where they got, but there were just a lot of inconsistencies, like you said. And the slow start killed them. And you're not going to come back against the Tom Brady, Bill Belichick team. Not in the divisional round. They've been there too many times. They knew what they had to do. They had a great game plan, and they kept their foot on the throttle and never let the Colts get into a groove. But it went down to, what we were saying. When they're good, they're good. When they're bad, they're bad. And the bad plays outweighed the good plays in that game for them. So, there's a bright future, though, in Indy. I mean, they got some holes to fill, but, they went out, and the Patriots just had a better game plan on that night. And what really surprised me, though, is I've never seen the Patriots run the ball like that, Evan. Have you? Can you recall the last time? I know Belichick sticks to that run, but I can't remember when they dominated a team like this with the running game in the Tom Brady time.
I think early in Tom Brady's career, when they had what was his name, Corey Dillon, and who was that running back from the Bills that they had? Victor Smith. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but I think that was the last time I had seen the Patriots run the ball. It was early in Tom Brady's career.
Yeah, well, they did it well. and it was opening up a lot of things for them. And, they just got in a comfort zone, and they were at home, and they just were able to take care of business. But let's move into the last game, the Broncos and the Chargers. I had said that the Chargers were going to go into Denver. I thought they were confident, thought they would have a good game plan, and I thought they'd defeat the Broncos. So since I picked the loser or I lost this game, I'll start off with this one, Evan, and say you could kind of tell from the get-go, the way Phillip Rivers went out there and the mistakes that were made early, defensively, offensively, that team was rattled. They didn't go in with the same confidence that they had. It took them 3 quarters to settle down. And that Denver offense, the way that they were play calling, I thought really was spectacular on Sunday. They kept the Charger defense off balance, and I was watching, and the announcers even said, if you're going to give the receiver 3 or 4 yards, Manning is going to make you pay with that. And they kept him off balance with a good running attack. Even in that wind, Manning was able to take control of that game. Did you see some of those field goal attempts? That wind was really pushing the ball. But I'm not going to blame the weather on that game. I look at it that the Chargers just came out and they looked really, really nervous and not confident. When the Broncos stopped them, they couldn't get anything going. And the Broncos did exactly what they wanted to do, and that was sustain long drives, win the time of possession, and put points on the board. And they did it every time, and the Chargers just couldn't get back into the game. They made a run at the end. I know they scored and got the onside kick, but I'll tell you what, when you look at that game, never at one time did I think the Chargers were going to win that game. It felt like Denver was in total control the whole game. What'd you think?
Yeah, he nailed that in the head. It looked like Denver was in control the entire game. I was quite surprised. I wasn't surprised at the outcome because, I picked Denver to win. But I was quite surprised at the score. I was expecting a much higher scoring game, especially on the Broncos' end, only scoring 24 points. That surprised me quite a bit. But what I don't get, and this is something that I've never gotten in football, you look at a team, they're slow out of the gate. They're slow out of the gate. They're slow out of the gate. So what do they do late in the game? We're going to hurry it up. And what normally happens when they hurry it up? They get big chunks of yards. They move the chains. They score points. Why weren't the Chargers doing the hurry up earlier in the game? Because it looked like it was completely rattling the Broncos when they were running that hurry up offense. If that was the case, why not run it earlier in the game? And that's one thing I didn't get. And then, like I said, football in general, I don't get why teams don't go to the hurry up sooner in order to knock the team off balance and do a combination of hurry up and your basic offensive sets. I don't understand that at all. But as you said, the Chargers got controlled. Rivers didn't look comfortable early, and as we now see in the AFC Championship game, Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning once again.
Yeah, another rematch. I'm going to add one more thing in there, Evan, too, and it goes back to, and I'm just an idiot with an opinion. But on the first drive that the Broncos had, and I can't recall the defensive player, but Peyton Manning made one of his rare errors, and the ball landed in his hands, and he dropped it. And the Broncos went...
Oh, yeah, you can't give opportunities like that.
Yeah, it went right in his hands. He dropped it, I believe, at like the 2-yard line, and that kept the drive alive, and the Broncos went and scored a touchdown. Now, again, would that have changed the outcome of the game? I don't know. But would it have moved a little bit of confidence and momentum for a little bit? Yes. Because now you drop an interception, and now the Broncos just throw it down your face again, get inside the 10, and they put it in for a touchdown, which they're very good at. They're one of the best in the league when it's goal to go, scoring touchdowns. Yeah. And so, again, when I look at these games, and I'm going to look at it next Sunday too, is there a play early in the game for a team that could have been made that could have shifted momentum, even if it's for 5 or 6 minutes. You and I both know, Evan, in the game of football, it's a game of momentum shifts and changes.
Yeah.
And like I said, in that Denver-San Diego game, I never saw the momentum shift ever, not even in the fourth quarter when the Chargers were going down in the hurry up. I still didn't see any panic. And the momentum hasn't swung fully. You know, if they make that interception, it gets the defense fired up. Hey, we can get to Peyton Manning. What does it do to Peyton Manning at that point then? You know, things like that, we don't think much about it.
You might stop pressuring a little more.
Exactly. And so I'm looking at these games with plays early in the game that could change the momentum. And again, would they have decided the outcome of the game? Maybe not. But it may have given that team a little bit of a much-needed push to maybe get a field goal, to maybe change the field position. So, again, I'm going to be looking for that next week. I'm going to see if there's any of those early plays that should have been made that could have changed the momentum in the game. But with that said, Bud, it leaves us, like you said, the Manning-Brady matchup once again. We'll definitely have a preview on that. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, there is one thing I'm sure the Charger players and fans are glad they're not going to be hearing anymore, and that's Omaha.
Man, I could hear it clear as day on my side.
And he kept getting them on that hard count. Omaha.
They probably dreamt about Omaha all night. I mean, I heard it. I was hearing it all night, and I wasn't even playing. But 3 minutes left, Bud. You know, anything else you want to wrap up with? It was a good weekend of football. You know, we'll have our preview of the championship games on Friday as normal. But any other topics in the last 3 minutes that we want to let the fans know about?
Well, first thing I want to mention, the Wisconsin Badger basketball team is now up to third in the country, and they got a very big week ahead for them. And for college basketball fans, they traveled to Indiana on Wednesday, and they've won 12 straight games against Indiana, and no team has ever won 13 straight against Indiana. And then Saturday, Michigan comes to the Kohl Center, which I will be at that game. So that should be a pretty good matchup there. And then tomorrow we're going to be talking about an article that Bob McGinn published in the paper, in Milwaukee paper on Sunday, talking about how the other NFC teams have left the Packers in their dust and becoming the elite team. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So that's really all I have to add.
Yeah, and you know, I read the article you had sent it to me on Facebook, and it was a great article, and I totally agree with it. And I think we're going to have some good talking points tomorrow. You know, basically, just critiquing what Mr. McGinn had wrote about. It is absolutely true. And it ties into our rant on Saturday. And if you guys haven't listened to it, go to the YouTube page, listen to the rant on Saturday. Probably a little bit unconventional. I know I put Evan on the spot there having to do the intro because I was buying a car. So I apologize.
90 seconds.
I apologize for that, Bud. And I was in the middle of purchasing a vehicle.
Don't apologize. How's the car?
Yeah, it's great. It's awesome. Love it. Love it. I was there till about 4 o'clock getting everything done, though. That kind of sucked. But needless to say, it ties into our rant on Saturday about Ted Thompson and the future of the Packers. You know, we have to look at it. Are the playoffs good enough? You know, are we going to settle for a one and done in the playoffs? I'm not.
60 seconds.
You know, I want a Lombardi trophy as a fan. So it'll be With that said, everyone, I am going to let you know that I was kicked out of the studio one more time with 1 minute to go. Sorry for the technical difficulties tonight. Hope you enjoyed the rant. We'll see you at the next red light. Enjoy your evening. We'll get back at you tomorrow.